Today we're going to talk about Manchester United's transfer strategy and what they're looking for in the transfer market. Let's start off with the obvious one that they're prioritizing this transfer market, which is a striker position, a striker, a goal scorer, someone that gets be the starting striker above Hoyland, above Xerxes. Let's start off with they've been linked to three different ones actually. They've been linked to Jackson, Nicola Jackson from Chelsea. They've been linked to Watkins from Aston Villa, and mainly they've been linked to Sesko. The problem is with Sesko, they are battling out with Newcastle United. I just saw Fabrizio Romano talk about it, how Newcastle have already talked to Sesko, have talked to about their plans, and that they're about to send a bid in to for Sesko. I'm pretty sure. United, on their hand, is waiting to talk to Sesko and is, I would say, second in the race for Sesko. Personally, I really like Sesko. I think he's a goal in the box goal scorer. Those are some of my favorite type of strikers, the ones that just stay in the box like the Lewandowskis. Um, and here's the thing about Manchester United. People are complaining about being linked to Jackson. People are complaining about being linked to Watkins because they say they want something better. But let's be honest, Manchester United isn't in the place right now to be complaining about getting a Premier League strikers like Jackson and Watkins that have been giving 15 goals plus, that have given 15 goals plus seasons multiple times, especially Watkins. And Nicholas Jackson gets a lot of hate in my opinion, too much hate in my opinion. And let's be honest, Manchester United right now isn't in the place to be complaining about getting a proven Premier League strikers. Manchester United ended 15th last season, and Nicolas Jackson literally got helped get Chelsea from 12th to fourth place now. So why are people complaining about United getting that same type of striker to help them move up the ladder? Yes, Nicolas Jackson isn't Premier League winning striker level in my opinion, but he's one of those strikers that will help you get to the top six, the top fours. I feel so the assigning like Watkins could also do that as well. He's very experienced. I think United needs some experience up in striker. I think they have two very young players. Very good is something. Now we'll see. We'll see. Have to see how good they are, but they're very young players. Otherwise, anyways. But yeah, I really if you personally asked me to choose one of these strikers for Manchester United, I honestly would go for Sesko. I think I really rate Sesko. I've watched him a couple times. Um, and I think he's athletic. He's very big. He's very tall. I think his United struggled also with what's it called, crosses. I think Embuemo has was one of the most persons with the most crosses. I think you got players like Cunha who puts the ball in there. I think you got players like Bruno who puts the ball in there. You got people like Ahmad who could cross the ball. You got people like Dorgo who down the channel and is able to cross it. I think you got the players to get. Watkins is also good in the air, but I wouldn't say he's as good as a Sesko. He hasn't proven it much yet, but trust me, I've watched him. Nicholas Jackson is also one of those that moves more around the outside of the box. I think Sesko is perfect if you want him just to stay in the box and be there for the crosses, be there for the through balls, be there for the goal scoring opportunities. I also want to talk about the midfielder. I don't think people understand how much United need a midfielder. I feel like people are just realized when they play the preseason game, but I've been saying it since the start. United need another midfielder. They cannot do Bruno Mainu. They cannot do Mainu. Uh, in my opinion, they can do. I don't think Bruno. I know for a fact Bruno and Mainu can't play together in those two center midfielder roles. I like Bruno in one of the tens, and I like Mainu's been looking good in preseason. One of those midfielders. And let's be honest, the dream signing is Baleba for United. He would be fit perfectly with Bruno. He would fit perfectly with Mainu. Baleba is the dream signing, but from what past Brighton experiences, like the Caicedos, I think he would be very expensive. I feel like he would cost upwards of 80 million for Brian, and I think it would be an amazing and a dream signing that would help them a lot. So yeah, Baleba is the dream signing. And another point I want to make, United shouldn't spend a lot of money on Emi Martinez. I would say not nowhere no more than 20 million. Because yes, he's a good keeper, right? He's not, I wouldn't consider him one of the best in the world. He's a good keeper. But near the end of the Aston Villa season last season, he threw a lot of games. In the PSG games, he messed up a couple times. In the United game, he threw the game for Aston Villa. He threw top four for Aston Villa. He is a keeper that made a lot of mistakes towards the end of the season, which kind of aligns with his age. He's over 32 years old. It really doesn't make sense to spend more than 20 million on him. And I would rather it would be more it would make more sense if they went for a young keeper like the Belgium one they're looking at right now. And yeah, United shouldn't spend more than 15 million on Emi Martinez because he's getting older and he's made a lot of mistakes very recently. Um, yeah, so I would say prioritize the striker first and then the midfielder, or maybe even the midfielder. I think the midfielder is very important. Like I said, I think you got young players coming in that could sub in. Like one of the players I like a lot is Kone from the youngsters. I think he's a very strong, very good player that is gonna come. I think he's gonna have a lot of minutes this season. Preseason, he's played a couple of times, and I think he's one that Conan should be getting more minutes for Manchester United this season. Um, and yeah, they need to sell players. They need to sell the likes of Garnacho. They need to sell the Sanchos, the Anthonys, the Malacias. They already got rid of Rashford. It was on loan, so they still haven't made any money out of it yet. But they won't be paying his wages. But United need to sell. They need. I think they're asking. I think Garnacho for 40 million is a good price. I think it would be better if Elanga went for what 60 million, 65. I think Garnacho should be around that same amount. But if United need to sell, they should just sell him for 40 with some add-ons. I think Sancho that he's been linked to Juve multiple times. I think you could use um, some money. I would say like 30 million. I don't know how much United think he's worth. I think he is worth around there, like they did with Chelsea. Chelsea paid 5 million instead of spending 25 on Sancho. Anthony, I think he had a good season. I think he's one of the players that I don't think he earns as much as the Sanchos, as the Garnachos. I think Anthony should be one that they should sell for around the same price. I think United need the money and that they need to sell. I think Anthony had ended off the season very well for Betis, so I think it's one of those things that other teams might be looking at him. But that's the thing with these players; they have very high wages that United has given them over the years, and the other team don't want to pay. Juve doesn't want to pay Sancho's wages. They like Sancho. They're willing to pay like to the 25, 30 million for him, but his wages are way too high. Same with Garnacho. You know, these are good players, right? But their wages are extremely high, in my opinion. And that's why going to my next point, I think United should use these players as trade-ins. I think if United don't end up getting a Sesko, they don't end up getting a Watkins, they don't end up getting a Jackson. I think they could use that Sancho and trade in for a Vlahovic that they don't want to use. Trade in a Sancho for Douglas Luiz that wants to leave Juventus. So I think, and they're around the same price range. So it would just have to be Sancho's wages again. So, but I think if they use Garnacho as a trading tool for to Aston, I've seen him linked to an Aston Villa. Use Garnacho as a trading for a Watkins. Use Garnacho as a trading for a Chelsea who likes Garnacho. Use him in as a trade-in. Use Anthony as a trade-in to get a midfielder off La Liga. You know what I mean. Use him off as trade-ins if people don't want to pay what they cost. But like I said, the problem is their wages. They're players that are rated in the world, or that are middly rated in the world, but it's just their wages. So Amram just announced that he would take them back if they're not sold anyway. So I think that just calms down a lot of things for them because they know Amram's going to take him back and put him in the team sheet if they don't get sold. So we just have to see how the United season ends. But I think they should prioritize a striker, and the midfielder I think is equally as important as the striker. And yeah, let's hope United make a couple more signings because they're gonna need it.